Welcome once again to my channel. Today I bring you the review of One Piece chapter 1086, which got very out of control with its revelations. As you already know, this chapter is named Gorosei, and in the cover we have a split color of the Straw Hats playing in puddles of water after a big rain. Curiously, neither only nor Jinbe are there. This chapter begins and Mary Joyce, the narrator, mentions that with the truth of the death of Cobra hides. The river he arrived at. Finally there we see how they will arrive. He is desperately looking for Princess Vivi. He is showing everyone photographs of Vivi to see if anyone saw her from another side. We see how Chaka is facing a guard of Mary Joyce. He very angry demands that they tell him where the king is Cobra since he is very sick. We go to Redport and the narrator mentions that in the ships of the kings who are already returning to their homes, there are some stowaways. We see Wapol very nervous together with Vivi hiding in the ship. Wapol asks him what ships they are. They have gone up. Vivi answers that this is the ship of the Kingdom Aegis. We see how they are calling him. Morgan says right to the ship where they are hiding. Morgan tells him that he will approach that ship with his ship under the pretext of an interview. While doing that's why he boards his ship as soon as possible. Meanwhile, don't let yourself be caught by anyone. Wapol tells you that he owes you. Morgan says that there is great news to the point that the life of the king of a country is being threatened. This is really exciting. He asks what he saw. Wapol, very scared, replies that he can't tell her. She's the last person he would tell about it. Better go back to his boat. Vivi tells him no, she's under the brush right now. He regroups with his guards. The CP0 would take it by force. Vivi asks him to lend him his Den Mushi. He must contact his father. He is probably very worried right now. Wapol tells him no, that is absolutely the only thing he should not do. Vivi very angry. She asks him why. In the Red Port we see how agents of the CP0 have photographs of both Vivi and Sabo. They are looking for them everywhere in the hold of the ship of the Talon Kingdom. Bonnie is hidden. She is very hungry. Sabo is very hurt on the ship from the kingdom of Lucia. He says that if he can get to Lucia, he should be safe. Only here he remembers Cobra's last words in which he told him that he is counting on him, surviving at all costs. It hurts Sabo a lot. We see how the ships finally begin to set sail. The narrator says that in a short time the news about the murder of the Cobra King of Alabasta and the disappearance of Princess Vivi of that same kingdom spread throughout the world. Now we move on to Mary Joyce in the living room where the Gorosei is gathered. They mention that Sabo is a man who has a very troubled destiny. They doubt that there is someone else whose life is surrounded by D's. Saturn mentions that it is time for them to resolve the issue once and for all. That sounds like Den Mushi. It is about Imsama from the flower chamber. He tells them that he wants to use the weapon created by Vegapunk called Mother. Saturn says that it is so they have to use it to see if it actually works. Another old man mentions that they will decide what to do with Egghead after the results of their experiment. The old swordsman says that they could test it in the sea or maybe in a forest. Imsama tells them that it has to be done on a kingdom of Lucia. The old man with the big mustache tells him that there are a lot of people there, and Imsama replies that he doesn't care. The old man with long hair says that he understands. The world moves at the will of its creator. The blonde wonders why he chose Lucia. Imsama replies, that's because Saturn is close. He tells him that it is okay to take a little time to prepare it. Please wait here. We are presented with the names of all the ancient sacred warriors of scientific defense J. Garcia Saturn, sacred warriors of the environment Marcus Mars, sacred warrior of legal affairs Topman Valkyrie, sacred warrior of finances is St. Ethan Baron V. Nestero, and sacred warrior of agriculture Jupiter Mars mentions that the citizens of Lucia are showing signs of rebellion. Valkyrie says that then it would be a good example to use the weapon there. He says that in any of the cases they can use that power whenever they want eventually. Peter says with that they will be able to put an end to the lasting conflicts. Imsama tells them that there is one more thing he wants, that is Vivi. The elders respond that understood. Now we move on to the new Marine Ford. The narrator mentions that the Navy had its hands full dealing with revolutions in various world government affiliated countries around the world after the abolition of the warlords. Here we see how they inform Akainu that a rebellion has begun in the kingdoms. We also see a group of Marines boarding warships for battles. They say to deploy the crocodile Seraphim and the apparition on the empty Bluffs Island. Here we see Doflamingo, Moria Seraphim, and Crocodile. Now we move to the present with Sabo. He continues telling Yvonne and Dragon that when he arrived at the kingdom of Lucia, he saw the Saki king and the princess being captured by the citizens who were waiting for them, despite being a stowaway, welcomed him with open arms. It was then that he first saw the newspaper. and learned that he had been framed as the murderer of King Cobra. As usual, he was treated as a hero even though he wanted to tell the truth. He swallowed his words. He could feel the spirit of rebellion in the air. Sabo says that thanks to the influence of Betty and the others, there were a lot of people in Lucia who wanted to enlist in the Revolutionary Army. Those were the people he brought with him. He tells them that he did not find a din mushy of interference. That is why he could not contact them directly from Lucia, but as soon as they set sail, he made an indirect transmission, which was the call they received in at that time. The government could have intercepted him, and it appeared to them as if they were still in Lucia, but in reality he was already sailing with the new recruits from the army, which during the call was. When the incident of Lucia disappearance happened, Sabo replies that it is so there was panic even inside the ship since many of them had left their families there. They saw their kingdom disappear in front of their eyes. Dragon says that must have been hard for them. But what the hell happened there? Sabo tells him that a huge shadow covered the sky above them, and then in the next moment Lucia was no longer there. Dragon gets very worried hearing a huge shadow. Sabo tells him that he really can't explain if it was a being alive or a natural disaster. What he did see is that there was something black flying above the clouds. Ivan asks Sabo, if he just mentioned someone named Emu, that story may sound out of this world, but 800 years ago, between the creators of this world, the first 20 kings, there was a king named Emu from the Narona family. Ivan shows him a book and tells him to look it in this world. It is said that there is an ability capable of making someone immortal, which means that there is someone who has tried it. Not it's like that in a few words. Somewhere in this world there is someone who cannot die. He knows, very surprised, he says. So that means that person is the one who saw, and Ivan says that perhaps it is a coincidence that he has the same name among the little celestial dragons who arrogantly claim to be descendants of gods, the highest authority in this world, the Gorosei. They have humbled themselves before nothing less than that person. One more thing, the thing he saw above the clouds that Lucia destroyed. Assuming it's a government weapon, only Vegapunk could create something like that. Dragon tells him to wait. Vegapunk would never create a weapon of mass murder like that. Ivan tells him he knows then. If that was actually an ancient weapon, Emu is a person from ancient times, then it all makes sense. Very serious. Dragon says that ancient weapons definitely exist. Robin told him, but if they have a weapon like that, why have they never used it before? Because it was they waited until now to use it. Now we move on to Mary Joyce there. A lot of celestial dragons are complaining that they don't have food, bread, or cake. The narrator mentions that on that day in Mary Joyce a celestial dragon was sentenced to death. However, this was not reported in the world. The one who passed the sentence was the ancient king of a land called God Valley. At present he is the supreme commander of the Holy Knights Figureland Garling. The one who was sentenced to death is none other than the man who defended the fishman Eugene Don Quixote. Here we see how Mosgard was crucified in the symbol of the world government. Garling says that those who protect garbage are less than garbage. Well, as you know, after this chapter there is a break of a month, because all of them will be operating on Oda's eyes. This was undoubtedly a great capitulation that will leave us debating this whole month, the revelation of the names of Gorosei, and the appearance of an Figureland Garling that got all eyes out of control with God Valley, which was the place where they found Shanks. And curiosities, we will have many things to talk about in this chapter. I give it a 10 for revelations. I would say that it is equal to or better than the previous one. Thank you very much to everyone who made it to this part of the video. Do not forget to subscribe to be aware of One Piece news in general or updates for the channel. See you in the next video. Bye.